Welcome again to mechanical ventilation module. In previous lecture, I discussed basic structure of conventional ventilator and basic terminology related to the pressure and pressure gradients. Today, I will discuss some remaining terminologies and how a breath is delivered. Let's move. I already discussed equation of motion in the previous class. Let's revise it again. Normally, two type of force oppose the inflation of the lung. One is the frictional force and the elastic force. The frictional force are the result of two factors: the resistance of the tissue and organ as they become displaced during breathing, and the resistance to gas through the airways. Elastic forces arises from the elastic properties of the lung and the chest wall. This can be explained by the equation of motions. The energy required to produce motion can be achieved by the contraction of the respiratory muscles during a spontaneous breath, or it can be generated by the ventilator during a mechanical breath. In both cases, the amount of pressure that must be generated to produce the flow of gas into the lung depends on the amount of airway resistance and the elastance of the lung as well as the chest wall. Flow resistance pressure is equal to the resistance of the airway and the flow, and the elastic recoil pressure is equal to elastance and into volume. Elastance is inversely proportional to the compliance. So if we put this formula, then it will be volume by compliance. Hence, elastic required pressure is equal to volume by compliance. Hence, equation can be rewritten as a total pressure, that is muscle pressure plus ventilator pressure, is equal to the airway flow resistance into the flow plus volume by the compliance. If the respiratory muscles is inactive, it means the P muscular pressure of muscle pressure is equal to 0. Then the ventilatory pressure should be equal to airway resistance into the flow plus volume by compliance. And this will be measured in the ventilator as a peak inspiratory pressure. This airway resistance into the flow is equal to the trans airway pressure, and the V by C is equal to the alveolar pressure, that is also equivalent to P plate pressure. Hence, peak inspiratory pressure is equal to trans airway pressure plus alveolar pressure or P plate pressure. Now, two parameters are often used to describe the mechanical properties of the respiratory system. And elastic and frictional forces opposing the lung inflammation, that is the compliance and the resistance. Let's discuss about the compliance. The compliance of any structure can be described as the inverse of the elastance. The compliance of any structure can be described as the relative ease with which the structure distance. Compliance is the inverse of the elastance. Compliance is a measure to express the pressure-volume relationship of such structures. A simple physical model can help our understanding. Here, two balloons made of the same elastic material. The wall of one balloon is slightly thicker than that of the other. Using a T-piece equipped with the valve, we connect two balloons to source of a high pressure gas. Now we gradually open the valve, causing gas to flow into both the balloon. The internal pressure to increase. As a consequence, both balloons begins to expand. Unsurprisingly, the balloons with the thin wall expands faster than that of thick wall. If we measure the internal pressure and volume simultaneously, then plot the reading on a graph, volume versus pressure, we get two different pressure volume curves. These two curves have different angle to the horizontal. This different angle shows the different level of compliance of the two balloons. Hence, compliance is defined as change in the lung volume per unit change in the transmural pressure gradient, and compliance is measured in ml per centimeter of water. Now, there are two types of compliance. One is the static compliance and another one is the dynamic compliance. Now, first discuss about the static compliance. It is defined as change in lung volume per unit change in pressure in the absence of flow. In the absence of flow. Static compliance of a respiratory system is a function of both lung and as well as chest wall. Hence, the compliance of respiratory system, that is 1 by compliance of respiratory system, should be equal to 1 by compliance of the lung plus 1 by compliance of the chest wall. The compliance of lung and chest wall independently is typically stated as approximately 200 ml per centimeter of water. Hence, the compliance of the respiratory system is approximately 100 ml per centimeter of water. To separate the lung and chest compliance is required the measurement of the intrapleural pressure. And as we already know that we can't able to measure the intrapleural pressure directly in the patient, so this is performed by measuring the esophageal pressure, as esophageal pressure approximate the intrapleural pressure, and I already discussed about the esophageal pressure in the previous lecture. Now, how to calculate the static compliance? Static compliance calculated by this formula. The static compliance is equal to the exhaled tidal volume divided by plateau pressure minus positive end expiratory pressure, P. And plateau pressure is measured at the end inspiration with the inspiratory hold on the mechanical ventilator for 0.5 to 1.5 seconds. The normal compliance in the spontaneously breathing patient is 50 to 180 ml per centimeter of water, and normal compliance in the intubated patient in the male is 40 to 50 ml per centimeter of water and goes up to 100 ml per centimeter of water. In female, 30 to 45 and goes up to the 100 ml per centimeter of water. After static compliance, then we will discuss about the dynamic compliance. Dynamic means there is air flow, there is presence of flow. Dynamic compliance is defined as change in lung volume per unit change in pressure in the presence of flow. The additional component for the dynamic compliance is the airway resistance, and because we know that because of the flow there is airway resistance, so it is dependent, frequency dependent. Hence, dynamic compliance includes chest wall compliance, lung tissue compliance, and as well as airway resistance. As there is always a degree of airway resistance, so dynamic compliance is always less than the static compliance, and it is a function of respiratory rate. Now, how to calculate the dynamic compliance? Simple. Dynamic compliance is equal to the exhaled tidal volume divided by peak inspiratory pressure minus positive in expiratory pressure. In case of the static compliance, in place of PIP, there is a plateau pressure. This is the difference only. Now next one is the resistance. We already discussed about the two type of compliance, the static compliance and dynamic compliance. Now we will discuss about the resistance. What is the resistance? Resistance is the measurement of the frictional forces that must be overcome during the breathing. And these frictional forces are the result of the anatomical structure of the airway and the tissue viscous resistance offered by the lung and the adjacent tissue and the organ. The tissue resistance usually does not change. The resistance to airflow through the conductive airways, that is the airway resistance, depend on the gas viscosity, gas density, the length of the airways, the diameter of the tube, and the flow rate of the gas through the tube as defined by the Poiseuille's law. During the mechanical ventilation, the viscosity, density, and tube or airway length remain fairly constant. In contrast, the diameter of the airway lumen can change considerably and affect the flow of gas into and out of the lung. The diameter of the airway lumen and the flow of the gas into the lung can decrease as a result of bronchospasm, increased secretion, mucosal edema, and there is if the kinking of the tube, airway, endotracheal tube. The relationship of the gas flow, pressure and resistance in the airway is described by the equation of airway resistance. That is, airway resistance is equal to trans airway pressure divided by the flow. As we already seen in the equation of motion, the resistance into flow, the product of resistance and flow is equal to the pressure, that is the trans airway pressure. And the trans airway pressure is equal to the peak inspiratory pressure minus P plate pressure. Hence, if we rearrange this equation, the airway resistance is equal to the peak inspiratory pressure minus P plate pressure divided by flow. The unintubated patient, the normal resistance is about 0.6 to 2.4 water per liter per second, centimeter of water per liter per second, and intubated person is approximately 6 centimeter of water per liter per second. Now move to the time constant. Let's move to the time constant. What is the time constant? The product of compliance and resistance is called as a time constant. For any value of compliance and resistance, the time constant always equals the length of the time needed for the lung to inflate or deflate to a certain amount or percentage of their volume. One time constant allows 63% of pace of the volume to be exhaled or inhaled. Two time constant allows 86.5% volume to be inhaled or exhaled. 395%, 4 time constant 98.2%, and 5 time constant required volume to be exhaled or inhaled 99.3%. Hence, time constant is applicable for setting the inspiratory to expiratory ratio in the mechanically ventilated patient. If we keep the time constant of less than 3 time constant for the inspiratory time, it means there is not proper delivery of the tidal volume. Or if we keep the less than 3 time constant as a expiratory time, it means the complete exhalation of gas does not occur. It means there is chances of volume dropping that will develop into the intrinsic PEEP or auto PEEP. This is the application of the time constant. So always before putting the patient on the ventilator, before setting, always calculate the time constant. On the basis of that, we have to set the inspiratory and expiratory ratio. Like if a patient of ARDS, lung parenchymal disease, it is a cause of type 1 respiratory failure. In that condition, we want to keep the inspiratory time more, so we have to calculate the time constant, and according to that we set the inspiratory time. In case of the COPD patient, there is chances of dynamic hyperinflation of lung, there is chances of already volume trapping. We want more exhalation time, we have to calculate the compliance and resistance, then product of compliance and resistance give the time constant, and according to that you have to give the proper exhalation time to complete exhalation of the gas from the lung to the out. Now we already discussed the terminology related to the pressure in the previous lecture in the lecture 1. Today I discussed terminology like compliance, both static and dynamic compliance, resistance, and the time constant. Now we will move to the another topic, that is how a breath is delivered. That is very important. So to carry out the mechanical ventilation, a ventilator must receive the command from its operator on when the inspiration should start and stop, when the expiration should stop and stop, how the delivery of inspiratory gas should be controlled, and how big the mechanical breath should be, and how high baseline pressure should be. So for understanding how a breath is delivered, we have to learn the 5 essential variables. These essential variables serve as a foundation of mechanical breath. While mechanical breath are the foundation of ventilation mode, and the essential variables are directly related to the major ventilator control parameters. They belongs to core of the intermittent positive pressure ventilation regardless of the ventilator models and brands. Now, at first we will discuss the essential variables, mainly the triggering, limiting, cycling. These are the phase variables. Then I will discuss the control variables, controlling and baseline variable, the PIP. So these three, triggering, limiting and cycling, are the phase variables. Then control variables and then baseline variables. Phase variables depends on the phases of the breath, every breath. So every breath has 4 phases. Changes from exhalation, expiration to inspiration, then inspiration, then changes from inspiration to the exhalation or exhalation. So begins, sustains and ends. Each of the 4 phases of breaths depend on the trigger variable to begin, To sustain depends on the limit variable, and to end depends on the cycle variable. Hence you can remember it, TLC, trigger, limit and cycle. Now the first component of TLC is the triggering. Triggering refers to the time point when the inspiration starts. Cycling refers to the time point when the inspiration ends. So TI, this TI, inspiratory time, is the duration from the triggering point to the following cycling point. And T is the duration from a cycling point to the following triggering point. Brisk cycling time is the duration from triggering point to the next triggering point. Two ways this can occur. The ventilator can initiate a breath after a preset time, that is time trigger by the machine, also known as the machine trigger, that is a time trigger or machine trigger. Or patient can trigger the machine based on the pressure or flow. So time triggering is based on the breath cycling time. When the rate is set, the ventilator automatically converts the rate to the breath cycling time by this equation, and the equation is 60 divided by the set rate, that is beats per minute. So, for example, if you set the rate to 10 per minute, then resultant BCT is 6 seconds. Or if you set the 20, then resultant BCT will be 3 seconds. Hence, whenever defined BCT is over, ventilator delivers the inspiratory gas. Time triggering is only helpful. Time triggering is only helpful for the passive patients, not for the active patients. Now, pressure triggering. Pressure triggering is a form of patient triggering. The patient's inspiratory effort causes the airway pressure to drop from the current baseline. If the pressure drops reaches a set virtual threshold, the ventilator is triggered and start delivery of the inspiratory gas, like here. To utilize the patient triggering, you must activate the pressure triggering and set the pressure trigger sensitivity. The sensitivity is negative value in centimeter of water. If we set a PIP of plus 5 centimeter of water and then trigger sensitivity is set at minus 2 centimeter of water, the ventilator is triggered if the actual airway pressure drop to or below the 3 centimeter of water. The smaller the value of sensitivity, the more sensitive the trigger, and vice versa. So pressure trigger of minus 0.5 centimeter of water is more sensitive than that of minus 2 centimeter of water. Now, after the pressure triggering, now we will discuss about the flow triggering. Flow triggering is another form of patient triggering. It relies on the circuit or airflow monitoring. To make understanding easier, let us first specify the three flow types. The flow A in the inspiratory limb, the flow B in the expiratory limb, the airway flow, the gas flow measured at the airway. This is the airway flow. It is either inspiratory or expiratory. Air flow can be inspiratory and expiratory. To better understand the flow triggering, let's divide the expiratory time into early expiration and the late expiration. At the early expiration, the ventilator closes its inspiratory valve and the fully opens its closes and fully opens its expiratory valve for a maximum expiratory flow. Initially, the expiratory flow rises quickly to maximum and then decreases gradually as the circuit pressure drops. In the late expiration, the ventilator tries to rebuild In the late expression, the ventilator tries to rebuild and maintain the set baseline pressure by reducing the expiratory valve opening for a high resistance against the expiratory valve and by opening slightly the inspiratory valve for a constant base flow, which is crucial for flow triggering. If the patient does not inhale both the inspiratory if the patient inhales, a part of the gas flow goes to the patient, resulting in inspiratory airway flow drop, and there is discrepancy of the flow between the inspiratory limb and expiratory limb that will be sensed by the ventilator, and by sensing this, ventilator delivers the preset value. Now, there is some abnormality in the patient triggering. So what are the abnormal patient triggering? The auto triggering, one is the auto triggering, which means that ventilator is triggered when the patient does not inhale. That is the auto triggering. Typically, the auto triggering appears as a series of quick and rhythmic mechanical breaths. The causes of auto triggering are gas leak, condensed water, cardiac oscillations, and overly sensitive level of trigger. So, remove the root cause, make the triggering. Root cause like gas leak, remove the condensed water, and in case of the overly sensitive level, make triggering the less sensitive. Now, mistriggering. When we put the low set trigger sensitivity, there is chances of mistriggering. Patient trigger also very weak. In that condition, also there is chances of mistriggering. Now, after the trigger, move to the limiting. Limiting means size of breath. So, limiting is always paired with the controlling type. The limit parameter is tidal volume for the volume control ventilation, peak inspiratory pressure in case of the pressure control mode, and target tidal volume in case of the adaptive control like PRVC mode. When the set limit is reached, a ventilator stops delivering further gas into the circuit. Reaching the limit does not mean the immediate cycling from inspiration to the expiration. Now, third one is the cycling. Cycling refers to the end of inspiration. It determines the length of inspiration. Time cycling and flow cycling are two commonly used cycling mechanisms. time cycling for the passive patients, flow cycling for the active patients. The time cycling can be done by setting the inspiratory time, IE ratio and the peak flow. Cycling can be done by the setting of inspiratory time and IE ratio depending on the ventilatory mode. This inspiratory time and IE ratio can be applied for both pressure breath as well as volume breath. But by setting the peak flow, it is only helpful for the volume breath or in case of the volume control mode, not in case of the pressure control mode. Let's understand it. If the patient are on the volume control mode has a constant flow, that is the square wave pattern of the inspiratory flow. So tidal volume depends on the inspiratory time and the peak flow. Hence, tidal volume is equal to inspiratory time into the peak flow. The inspiratory time is equal to the tidal volume divided by the peak flow. This Ti can be increased by increasing the set tidal volume or by decreasing the set peak flow or both. So by setting the inspiratory time I ratio and peak flow, we can manage the time cycling. Peak flow is only helpful for the volume control mode because there is constant flow. In case of the pressure mode, the flow is not constant, flow is mainly descending time. Hence, the peak flow is not one of the setting criteria for controlling the cycling in case of the pressure control ventilation. After time cycling, let's move to the flow cycling. The flow cycling is designed for the active patients. In a pressure breath, the inspiratory flow is uncontrolled. Typically, the inspiratory flow rises quickly to the peak at the beginning and then drops gradually back to the zero. This flow cycling worked with the descending part of the inspiratory flow. The peak inspiratory flow is taken as 100%, regardless of its inspiratory value. A ventilator switches from inspiration to expiration. If the respiratory flows drops to a preset level in percent. Some of the ventilator is mentioned as the expiratory percentage or expiratory trigger sensitivity. This type of cycling mainly occurs in case of the pressure support ventilation. Lower the set percent, longer the Ti and vice versa. Hence, in case of COPD patient, if you are putting the patient in the pressure support ventilation, we have to put high set percent, so less time for the inspiration and more time for the expiration. This is required for the COPD patient because in the COPD patient we want more time for the exhalation, so we have to keep the more percentage value. So we already discussed the phase variables like triggering, limiting and cycling. Now move to the control variables. The way the ventilatory volume is delivered decided by the ventilator mode set by the operator. The operator sets the mode by selecting either a predetermined volume or pressure as a target. Hence, the common method of delivering inspiration is the volume ventilation or pressure ventilation. Volume ventilation, also known as volume targeted ventilation or volume control ventilation. Pressure ventilation is also known as pressure targeted ventilation and the pressure control ventilation. Inspiration begins, in case of the volume control, inspiration begins with the preset tidal volume and the flow. So control variable here is the volume. An example is the volume assist control and volume SIMV. If the inspiration begins with the preset pressure, then control variable is the pressure. Example, the pressure assist control, pressure SIMV, pressure support ventilation and the CPAP. In the volume control ventilation, the pressure waveform will change according to the lung characteristics, but the volume or flow waveform remain unchanged. In case of the pressure control ventilation, the pressure waveform remain maintained in a specific pattern, but the volume and flow waveform vary with change in the lung characteristics. There are two types of extended controlling modes also available. Extended controlling, like adaptive controlling, it is a variant of the pressure control mode, and another one is the hybrid control. Hybrid control have both volume control as well as the pressure control. So look here, in the pressure control ventilation, the pressure is remain constant, but there is change in the volume and change in the flow, the descending type of flow. In case of the volume control ventilation, the flow is constant, that is the square wave pattern, but there is change in the volume as well as change in the pressure. Now, discuss it one by one. The first one is the volume controlling. As flow is equal to, we know that V by T, that is volume by time. So flow is also controlled here. But this, look here, the flow is constant, square wave pattern, but there is change in the pressure. The advantage of volume control mode is the stable tidal volume, but there are certain disadvantages as well. More asynchrony in case of the active patients. There is invisible volume loss in the circuit due to the circuit compression. If you are putting the value of 500 ml of tidal volume, we set the 500 ml of tidal volume, then it will deliver only 450 ml. There is loss of 50 ml of tidal volume in the circuit because of the compression mechanism. There is no leak compensation in case of the volume control mode, because we know that in the volume control mode the flow is constant, not able to increase and decrease the inspiratory flow. So if there is leak, that is not compensated in case of the volume control mode. And there is variable peak pressure depending on the lung compliance and resistance. Pressure control mode, this is the pressure is here is constant, and this will be achieved by increasing the inspiratory flow, achieve this pressure that is set by the operator in the ventilator, and this pressure is the inspiratory pressure and this is the inspiratory time. It has the certain advantage. It has the superior patient ventilator synchrony compared to the volume control mode, as in case of the pressure control mode, that pressure will achieved by increasing and decreasing the inspiratory flow. So if there is any leak, then that pressure will be achieved by increasing the pressure, by increasing the inspiratory flow, not pressure, by increasing the inspiratory flow. So there is chances of leak compensation in case of the pressure control mode, but there are certain disadvantages and as well. How? Like if you are managing a patient on ventilator, you are managing a patient of ARDS. Patient lung is so stiff, very stiff. And if you are putting the patient on the pressure control mode with a peak inspiratory pressure of like 25 with the PEEP of 8. So there is a gradient of 25 minus 8, that is the 25 minus 8 is 16, 15, 17, sorry, 17. So 17 pressure gradients deliver the certain amount of tidal volume initially. Now, as we are putting the patient on the ventilator, so ventilator opens the lung. Now the compliance become more better compared to the initial phase. At the same gradient of the pressure, ventilator now will deliver the more tidal volume. Hence, tidal volume can be too large, and that too large tidal volume can cause the lung injury. So this is the unfavorable for stiff lung. Hence, we have to keep the safety alarm whenever you putting the patient on the pressure control mode in case of the stiff lung, in case of the ARDS patients. Now move to the adaptive controlling. Adaptive controlling has the advantage of both volume control as well as pressure control. For the volume control, it delivers the stable tidal volume, and for pressure control, it has the better synchrony. So it has the advantage of volume control as well as pressure control. So in the adaptive control, the inspiratory pressure variable to achieve the targeted relatively stable tidal volume. You can understand it by this diagram. Look here, is said that like the example of the adaptive controlling is the PRVC mode. So if you set that target tidal volume of 400 ml. So if the ventilator will achieve this target volume of 400 ml, there is no change in the peak inspiratory pressure. If not achieved less than 400 ml of tidal volume, then the ventilator will increase the peak inspiratory pressure to a certain level to achieve the targeted tidal volume of 400 ml. And if it is more than 400 ml, then ventilator has the power to decrease the peak inspiratory pressure to a certain level when the ventilator will achieve the target tidal volume. Now after this we will move to the hybrid controlling, also known as dual controlling. That PRVC or adaptive control is breath to breath change. Like if in the one breath, if the targeted tidal volume is less in case of the adaptive mode, then in the another breath the peak inspiratory pressure will increase and try to maintain the set targeted tidal volume. In case of the hybrid controlling or dual controlling, change occurs within the breath. There is intra breath, not inter breath. In this first half of the inspiratory flow is the volume control, another half is the pressure control, or first half is the pressure control and another half is the volume control, like waves, one of the modes. So look here, There is a constant flow, so volume control. This is a sine wave pattern. Here is a descending flow, so is a pressure control, and this is a constant pattern, so is the volume control mode. So this is the hybrid control or dual controlling mode. Now the last variable, last essential variable is the baseline pressure, that is the PEEP, positive in expiratory pressure. This is the positive pressure above the atmospheric pressure. I already discussed detail about the PEEP in the previous lecture when I discussed all the terminology related to the pressure. So this is the last essential variable. So if you have any questions, you can mail me in the educationecc@gmail.com. I will also provide the link of previous lecture, YouTube link of previous lecture in this in your mail, and you can follow me. You can join to my YouTube channel in the name of ECC Education, and you just subscribe my YouTube channel and also turn the bell, so whenever I download my lecture in the YouTube channel, it will notify you and you will able to see that lecture. Thank you so much. So to summarize this presentation, the calculation of compliance, resistance and time constant is very important while managing the patient on the ventilator. Understanding of essential variables are very important to define the mechanical breath type and the ventilation mode, that will be discussed in the next lecture about the mechanical breath type and the ventilation mode. Thanks for watching. Thank you so much.